our viewpoints of blueprints of Mad King Ludwig. Welcome to Teacher Mouse Studio 3. I'm Kevin.
I'm Melissa.
I'm Hannah.
And I'm Sarah. Today we're giving our viewpoints and opinions on blueprints of Mad King Ludwig from Bezier Games. Melissa, give us a quick overview.
Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig is a flip and write, or sketch, game for 1 to 5 players that takes about 60 to 90 minutes to play. It's designed by Ted Alspach and published by Bezier Games. The publisher provided this review copy of the game. During the game, you'll draft room cards and trace the shapes onto your blueprint sheet. As you complete rooms by connecting all of their doorways, you'll unlock rewards and earn points. The rewards do a variety of things, including expanding the usable area on your sheet, removing or adding doors to rooms on your blueprint, and taking extra turns. As you draw your castle, can you get the most points?
Alright, we're going to divide today's video into 5 different segments. We're going to do components, then dislikes, likes, then we're going to compare it to the original Castles of Mad King Ludwig, and then we'll give some final thoughts. Alright, let's start with the first segment, components.
So, first off, there are 2 versions of the game.
Ooh.
There's a deluxe edition.
Which this is the deluxe.
Yes, right there, deluxe
Nice.
edition. And then there's the regular retail edition.
Okay.
So the deluxe comes with the neoprene mat, which is really
That's
nice.
that's like needful.
And it comes with pencils for every player instead of one set of pencils. And then I think there are a few other upgrades in the deluxe version.
All right, but just components overall, I think to me, like the best component are the vellum sheets.
Yes.
Like to me, like I haven't seen any other like board game that has the vellum that you
To
can
be able to trace.
to trace
Right.
on. I really like that. It sort of does remind me of a blueprint, which is like perfect.
Yeah, in other drawing games, you have to kind of freehand it by looking at the card instead of being able to trace it that the vellum helps with.
I do like that the components, the vellum, and being able to write, it does make it colorblind friendly, because even if you have a hard time with the actual pencils and those specific colors, you can add a symbol or a mark to each of your rooms when you're building it so that you personally know which colors are which and what you're talking about. With the base or the original game, it has the symbols on the tiles so you can tell if you have some color issues. This one, you're free to mark on your paper how you'd like, so I did like that about this one.
Anything else about components?
Yeah, I think they work really well. The player mat, if you have that, has a lot of the setup instructions already there, so you don't have to go
helpful.
digging through the rule book all the time.
Dislikes. I have a couple dislikes.
Well, go for it.
All right, one dislike is I sometimes feel the colored pencils don't work as well as I want. Like certain colors.
The
like
yellow?
The yellow one, maybe sometimes the teal.
They're not as vibrant
Yeah.
as I
Okay,
want against
but-
the vellum.
It's not as bad as dry erase marker.
Absolutely,
That's
I
true,
will
that's
say
true.
that.
Yeah, so that's my one little dislike is I wish that we could have a different color. Although it makes sense they have yellow because it
Right, it ties into the actual
which we'll talk about later.
Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
Yeah.
So you do need yellow, and it's just hard to make yellow stand out.
Yeah.
I sometimes trace it in like the gray or
Okay.
something to make it more distinct for the yellow.
Any other dislikes?
I just think that the big thing is if you need the deluxe edition because you need the mat and you need color pencils for a set for everybody.
that makes the game
if
flow.
if you just have one, it can get stuck.
So you dislike that there's 2 versions.
I think and this is where I think everyone needs the deluxe, and I feel like that should be the base game.
Oh, okay.
So the deluxe also came with extra sheets
Yes.
of all the types. So
I
it
felt-
gives you more.
Yeah.
I think you can get those sheets
Yep.
independently as add-ons.
See, I am going to use my own artist pencils.
Correct.
Okay.
Probably.
Okay.
Which are higher quality, expensive pencils. I do that a lot on any roll and writes
That
where
use
I'm
colors.
using
Yeah.
colored
Okay.
pencils. So I've already, I might get the retail.
But I do think that the pencils that they have are nice. They actually have the room type printed on them.
Yes.
So you know
that's a like.
exactly.
That's definitely a like.
Hey, one more dislike before you like. Hold on.
More dislikes.
One more dislike. I think you mentioned it. The deluxe version gives you more of the papers and the vellum sheets, which I think is really important because in these types of games, I mean, you play it a lot, you're running out pretty quickly. I think the base game only had like 50
and it
sheets.
plays up to 5 players.
5 players, so that's only like really 10 games, and then you're going to get more. So just a minor dislike on that. All right.
I'm trying to think if there's anything.
It's
Do
not,
I have
it's
any
not
dislikes?
easy to erase. But
Okay.
I would
right.
expect that with colored pencils anyway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was it's not
If
terrible.
you
but-
start marking something and realize
Yeah.
this was a bad mistake.
Or if you missed a wall or missed a
Yeah.
corner or something, it can be difficult.
So I have one, again, this is very minor
Yeah.
dislike. There is a large stack of the room cards and you only play with a certain amount.
Mm-hmm.
So your distribution of rooms is going to be different every game.
Which is good, I think.
But you could have some games where you're like, I'm trying to get red rooms and only like 3 red rooms come out.
Yeah.
So I think that's inherent with all of the Castles of Mad King Ludwig games.
Sure.
You just need to know that certain types of rooms may be more prevalent than others
All
just
right.
because of the setup.
Let's move on to likes. Sounded like there were lots of likes, so who wants to go first?
Well, I will reiterate. I like that the kinds of the names of the rooms are written on the colored pencils that you won't get if you use your own colored pencils. So it helps those who are colorblind or who need like trying to remember which one of the colors and distinguish them. That's really nice having on the colored pencils. I like that there is a player mat to put the vellum sheet into. They didn't have to include that, but it really helps do the contrast of the cards and all of that to make it easier.
And gives you something a little more solid to trace.
Yeah, depending if you have one of those tables at home that have lines in it and you know how hard it is to play any sort of writing game with a piece of paper if it has lines in your like dining room table.
Or playing on a game mat,
Yes.
which is nice,
soft.
but it's hard to play a roll and write or any type of game that you're writing on
Yes.
on a soft surface.
Correct. So I really like that they included that little detail.
Yes, I will reiterate the whole tracing with the vellum. I am terrible at art. Kevin can say I can't even draw straight lines. So being able to trace the things, and even they have the shapes both ways, so you can flip the card, so you can figure out all the different orientations that are possible. So you can try them out and see what fits, and then trace it. I love that.
Yes.
I wouldn't be able to play the game without that.
This is not a real drawing game. If you play normal drawing games, and that is a huge like.
I like the gameplay itself. I mean, I know we've been talking a lot about the components, but the gameplay is so fun with where are you placing your rooms on your sheet and how they all work together, and then how that relates to your what's the other card where you're doing some of the combos and stuff like that.
Like your scoring.
Your scoring,
sheet.
and how okay, I want to make sure I want to do this special bonus at this time because the easy one is to get the extra room, or that's at the end of your turn. But there's also ones that you can use later in the game that you can activate at certain times by filling in the flags when you've completed certain colored rooms. I like that in this game.
Yeah, the combos and using the benefits when it is best for you. I agree. I really like that in roll and writes and this version.
And I will say, this might be the segue into the next part of this, but I like
Comparison.
that it feels like Castles of Mad King Ludwig, which is my favorite game of all time, but it's a completely different game.
Yeah.
I don't it's reminiscent and has the same parts and some of the same rooms, but it's completely different. And I like that it's not a reskin, it's a whole new idea. And that's a big like for me.
Yeah, comparison wise,
Oh, are we going out of like
that-
Sarah? Did you
since
have
you wanna-
anything you
like,
wanted to
well, it
add?
sounded like we were moving.
I was like,
Comparison wise, I do think the theme Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig is like a genius moment. It's like, how can we make the game that we all love, Castles, into this theme? It's just like, wow. It's like you are creating what you want your castle to look like in the future, and
instead of just randomly adding additions onto your
Right.
castle, like the base game, this one you're planning out some stuff a little bit.
It's very cool.
Yes,
It's very cool.
absolutely.
Yeah, full disclosure, I think all of us really enjoy Castles of Mad King Ludwig,
Absolutely.
so you are getting perspectives of people who enjoy the game that it was inspired by. So we already like the premise of the game.
Correct.
I like that they still have kind of the fun types of rooms. So I'm adding the pantry in, or you know, the bottomless pit or something like that. That stuff is still in there. Yeah, but it is, like Sarah said, or Hannah said, it is a different game.
Yes.
It's similar to, but not the same. So to use a cliche, they scratch a different itch.
Yeah.
I would still want both games
Yep.
in my collection.
Yeah, even how you're getting points in the game is totally different. The not only the cards that you have that are the different room cards are giving you points, but then completing the rooms is getting you even more points, and then all those bonuses are getting you points, or the moats and all the other things.
The rewards are similar, but not the same for certain kinds
I
of
like them
buildings.
similar, but not the
I
same.
think I like the scoring better for this than Castles.
Okay.
Okay.
I get really frustrated with trying to keep up with the bookwork and making sure I got all the points that I was supposed to get for this room
Yeah.
and these
Yeah, and
what
the scoring
adjacency
sheet.
combo, like
Yeah.
the sheet fixes.
Yeah,
the
all the
problems
scoring
that I have.
happens at the end instead of in Castles where
Like, oh, I
it's
forgot to score this
adjacency.
last time.
A lot
Yes.
of times it's
And
when
I
you
just-
place it, I get these 2 bonus points, I get to
Yeah.
rescore the room. So all of the scoring is happening at the end instead of some having mid-game and some at the end of the game.
Oh man, are we going to final thoughts? Do you have anything else?
Oh, we want to talk about how how the player order works differently
that
than
is
Castles.
pretty cool.
Yeah, go for it.
So it's based on the number that's on the card, and whoever has the lowest number picks first next time. So there is some strategy about, and it's based on how many squares it takes, how many cubes it takes up. So if you start pulling a bunch of big buildings, which takes up a lot of space,
That gives you more points.
gives you more points, but you are picking last.
Yeah.
So there is that strategy where you're constantly, so it's not just turn order where you're going in a circle, the player order will constantly change. And I feel like that's a really interesting component to a lot of games that you don't always have.
Yeah, the drafting aspect is completely different. There's not like a master builder. You're not
no
setting
money.
prices, no money. One of the benefits lets you choose from the discard pile instead of the open draft, and that can be really helpful.
Yep.
There's also the kitchens, the food rooms give you extra turns, but there's only like
a certain number
of cards. So if too many people try to activate those, someone might not actually get a card because those don't replenish.
So it's good to take those little rooms because you'll still get the extra turn first.
I also like your blueprint page has some extra things going on with how large you make your castle.
And if you do go last, you still get a benefit because you get to do a little circle at the top of your score sheet. And once you do 3 of those circles going last, then you get to pick any reward you want in a future turn or that turn or whatever. And so that's a helpful catch-up mechanic, which is nice.
All right, moving on to
Final
thoughts. My final thought is I love that not only is there a nice game trays in there, but some
Of
games
the
don't-
deluxe version.
Of the deluxe version. But not only that, it tells you how to put it in the game trays.
How to put it back together.
Because sometimes the game will have these cool like trays. I'm like, don't really know how it's all supposed to go back in the box, and that's its own puzzle sometimes. But I appreciate the thought put on in this game for that. That's my final thought.
My final thoughts. Castles of Mad King Ludwig, the original, is one of my top games. I love it, and I also love this version. I would play different settings, I think, for them, but I think it is a great adaptation inspired by game in the world of
Do you think this is easier to get to the
Castles.
table a little bit?
Not in our household. But in some households, I could see it would be.
Easier than their base game is what I'm saying, because you have all the different.
I think
Thanks.
the scoring might be a little easier on
I'm at
this
setup.
one.
I am so biased that I will say no.
But I will disagree. I will get this to the table, but I am an artist and love drawing and,
Yeah.
and doodling and sketching, so this one is, and because you're comboing like a roll and write, that puts it above the original.
I am not a
those are my favorites.
because I'm not a huge drawing fan of things because of those reasons of not feeling like artistic talent is my gift or anything.
And
but
you
if,
don't need any artistic talent.
if
for
I'm
this.
going to
But-
pick a drawing game, this is the one I'm going to pick hands down every
nice.
single time.
Okay.
So I think we all give Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig a thumbs up. If you like Castles of Mad King Ludwig, if you like flip and write, it's more of a drafting, I guess, game, drafting and write, but you like the combos that you get in those types of flip and write and roll and write games, definitely would recommend.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for checking out our video here. We'll see you in the next one.